Hi, this short video will accompany your Chapter 2 reading from Essential Guide for College Writers. It's about situations, purposes, and processes for writing, and it's meant to help you understand a particular phrase, rhetorical situation. Your textbook explains that there are two main purposes for writing for everyone. So you can write to learn, you can write to communicate. When you write to learn, you're exploring new ideas. So in English 111, if you have a writing assignment, I may be asking you to write to learn. So to reflect on what you've read or to reflect on a discussion post we've had in class, to understand something or to explore new ideas. But I might also ask you to write to communicate. So to express a feeling, to report on something, to explain a process, to present an argument persuasively. These are the types of reasons that for writing that you might experience in college, but also in your professional careers now and in the future. Right now, I want to talk about some strange terms you may have read in your textbooks or have seen me use in writing assignments so far. First, there's rhetoric, rhetorical situation, purpose, the occasion, audience, and genre, and context. All of these words you've seen in your textbooks in Chapter 2. I want to talk a little bit about one particular term, rhetorical situation, because it kind of encompasses all of these other terms. So, for instance, every writer has a rhetorical situation. So, look at this writer here, or imagine yourself as a writer and you have this reason to write, okay, or to communicate. So when you're a writer, you have this rhetorical situation around you. Inside the rhetorical situation is your occasion, your purpose, your audience, your context, and your genre. Now, you already know from the reading assignment that your occasion is kind of the motivation to write, the call to write, the reason that you sit down and put pen to pencil or pen to paper or your fingers on the keyboard or pick up your phone and send a text message, okay? So there's this reason that you're starting to write. Your purpose is also your reason or the effect you want to have on your readers. So you know from the reading assignment that you might write to entertain, you might write to persuade, you might write to help someone understand a concept or a process. In every rhetorical situation, there's an audience. You write for someone. So when you think about that audience, you want to say, who are they? How will they respond to what I say? If I say something one way, will they respond positively? If I say it another way, will it anger my audience? So what I mean to say is you have an audience. You have to understand who they are so that you can effectively write for them. You also have a context. This is a little bit harder concept to grasp, and your book talks more about it on page 16, and we'll talk more about it throughout the class. But a context is kind of outside conversations that people are already having about an issue. So for instance, let's say you write a paper on gun control, right? You have your own opinions about gun control, but in order to write a good paper or a good letter to the editor about gun control, you'd want to understand what are people already saying about this issue. You know, what are the biggest reasons people are for and against gun control? What recent events have happened in the news related to issues of gun control? You want to understand the context so that you write an argument or a message that's relevant for your readers today. And then there's also genre. This means it's the kind of writing you do. So you may decide to write a letter. You may decide to compose your argument in essay form or as an article for a magazine. So there's lots of different genres, okay? That's just the form that your message takes. And all of these things influence the writer, what the writer says in the message and how the writer organizes that message. So I want to give you an example of kind of my own rhetorical situation. So there's me, the writer, and I recently traveled to Italy, which was a fantastic trip. But on the way back, I experienced something that upset me and my family so much that I was called to write. Okay? So let me tell you a little bit about that. In my rhetorical situation, I had an occasion, the thing that motivated me to write, and that was a really bad flight experience. My purpose for writing was to express my feelings about this horrible customer service, to explain the course of events that happened, and how my family and I were really inconvenienced by this bad flight experience. So, my audience, who's it going to be? Well, if I kind of want to complain and express my feelings, I'm probably going to address my message to the United Airways customer service representatives, okay? And I need to know a little bit about them to decide how I'm going to compose my letter. And that's part of the context too. So U.S. Airways or United Airways is a business. So I know that they probably value customer service. So when I write my message, my letter, I'm going to draw on those values. So I'm going to say something like, I know you value customer service, and this bad flight experience didn't really live up to, those standards you purport to have. I also know that they probably hear a lot of complaints all the time, so I don't want to sound whiny. I don't want to sound too mean. I want to sound fair, right? So they'll continue to read my letter and do what I say, or attempt to make me feel better about the situation. So the message, or the form that my message will take, will likely be a letter, a formal letter. I would do this because I want the situation to seem serious, so they know I took time to compose this letter, that I care about this issue. An email might not be taken as seriously in this case. So therefore, I chose to write a letter. And all of these things are influencing me, the writer, what I say, how I say it for my audience. And that's sort of how my rhetorical situation took place. So now that you kind of know a little bit more about what a rhetorical situation is, I want you to kind of use your knowledge of what you've read to complete step 1 for your week 2 writing group post. What I want you to do here is think about a time you had your own rhetorical situation that called on you to write. So something that happened to you or something you experienced that made you sit down, pick up that pen or that pencil and write, or get on your computer and write. So for us, for your writing group, in about 200 to 300 words, please respond to the following questions. What was your occasion for writing? What motivated you to write? What was your purpose for writing? Who was your audience for writing, and what did you need to know about that audience in order to communicate with them successfully? What genre did you use to convey your message? And finally, how did the rhetorical situation or cultural context shape what you wrote for your audience? So you can pause this video now and answer these questions, or you can continue with the video, which is just a few seconds longer, and return to this prompt to write your response and post in your writing group. And just so you know, post this in your writing group forum, but don't forget to complete step 2. This is step 1. There's also a step 2 to your writing group post for this week. So you'll find instructions for completing step 2 in your discussion board forum. So, a little overview. In this video, we discussed rhetoric and the rhetorical situation. I want to remind you that each rhetorical situation involves a writer, that's you, an occasion, a purpose, an audience, a genre, and a context. So here you go. Here's the prompt again. The video ends now. I hope you found this helpful. Send me any questions you have about any of these terms or post questions to the class discussion board. Thank you for your attention.